is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here for NXT on Off The Script. It is Thursday, November 21st, 2019. We are going to review last night's show for November 20th, 2019. And it was the supposed go-home show for Takeover WarGames. If you guys watched last night's show, it is very difficult to believe that there is an actual NXT pay-per-view in WarGames on Saturday night, because after watching last night's NXT show, I don't know what we were building towards. Was it WarGames or was it the Survivor Series? I'm about to sit here and make a few people angry. And I want to be very calculated with what I say. I want to take my time with what I say. I want to take my time in constructing my thoughts here for this open before we get into what was a very good show. A typical show, but it was a very good show nonetheless. I have been an NXT mark for about as long as you guys have been watching me. I mean, I've watched every episode of NXT since its inception. I've been an NXT guy since day one. I believed in NXT. I've always came on here and came on various shows that I did and said, if the main roster takes a little from the NXT model and applies that type of attitude and that type of match quality and that type of creative freedom to the main roster, that things would be a lot better. Now, last night's show was a very polarizing show. You're going to either love it, or you're either going to despise every bit of what happened last night on NXT. And I want to dead the excuses that I'm sure I'll be reading in the comment section or on Twitter. Oh, JD is an AEW dick rider, AEW, the AEW this, AEW that. JD is looking for a job in AEW. He is sucking up to Tony Khan. He's on Tony Khan's payroll. JD's got Matt and Nick Jackson on speed dial, whatever the case may be. You know, this has nothing to do with one or the other. It's simply NXT and WWE's creative process. And again, I want to make sure that I get my words right and my statements correct in this so you guys know where I'm coming from. It's all about the creative when it comes to WWE. It has nothing to do with AEW. Everything that WWE has done has been a direct effect of AEW. From moving Evolve shows to the WWE Network to Combat AEW, a charity show for Fight for the Fallen. How many Evolve shows have you seen on the WWE Network since that one show? Since it was such a good show, how many Evolve shows have you seen on the WWE Network since that one that opposed Fight for the Fallen? I'll give you one guess. 0. 0 Evolve shows. That was a WWE move as far as the AEW effect goes. WWE handing out 5-year contracts and God knows how much money to every single talent possible to lock them down so that they don't go to AEW. WWE holding wrestlers hostage so they won't go anywhere else. And I mean hostage literally. Holding guys like Sin Cara, ACH, Jordan Miles, Luke Harper, right? Guys like that, Mike Kanellis, The Revival. You don't find any value in these guys on television at all, some of which you made a joke out of, and then you want to hold them hostage and not allow them to go on and pursue their career in this sport that we all love because you're afraid of bolstering their roster. If you're afraid of bolstering their roster, why don't you start using the fucking talent that you have in front of you and utilize them to their potential? Instead of worrying about where they're going to go next. See, this is the WWE problem. They always worry about what the other person is doing. They never worry about what they are doing. NXT moving to Wednesday nights. It's an AEW effect. Yes, I know NXT has been on Wednesday nights forever, but AEW is planning on moving to Tuesday. They didn't move to Tuesday because NBA on TNT is very prominent on Tuesday. Tuesday and Thursday, I believe. Wednesday was the only day in which they would have any sort of freedom to do what they need to do. So they moved to Wednesday. NXT, knowing that there was another wrestling show that was going to outdraw a WWE product, NXT at 1 hour on the WWE Network was not going to get the job done. Everybody cited creative growth. Everybody cited this is the natural progression of NXT. Meanwhile, I've seen more WWE Raw and Smackdown superstars on this show than I have in any other time frame in WWE NXT history. And that's not by coincidence. It's because of the AEW effect. WWE moved NXT to the USA Network live at 2 hours on Wednesday night in a rush deal because they didn't want AEW to go unopposed on Wednesday night because they figured, you know what? We'll sacrifice NXT and the quality of NXT on Wednesday nights to stop AEW from gaining full momentum because if 700,000 people are watching NXT on a Wednesday night, that's 700,000 people that aren't watching AEW on Wednesday night, bolstering their ratings and bolstering their momentum and the word of mouth that they are creating over on TNT. This is even more prominent with the Survivor Series. Have you guys ever sat down and thought about why NXT is in the Survivor Series? First of all, what are they even fighting for? What is this brand supremacy that we're all fighting for? What is on the line? Is anything on the line? Is a number 30 pick in the Royal Rumble on the line for said brand or said individual? Is there a main event spot at WrestleMania on the line? If NXT wins the Survivor Series, will we see an NXT title defense at WrestleMania? If SmackDown or Raw wins, are they going to main event WrestleMania with WWE or Universal Championship matches? Like the All-Star Game used to do in MLB. National League, American League, whoever won the All-Star Game would get home field advantage in the World Series. That instance, it didn't make sense because that's unfair. In this case, it makes all the sense in the world to do something like that. Do they get a number 1 draft pick in the draft next year? Do they get an NXT draft pick or Raw and SmackDown, I should say? Do they get an NXT draft pick if they win? I don't know. I don't know what's on the line. What is on the line? A piece of cheesecake in Titus Catering? I don't know. It might as well be. What is on the line as far as brand supremacy goes? The answer is nothing. The answer is nothing. Have you guys ever sat down and thought why NXT was a part of the Survivor Series in 2019, but wasn't a part of the Survivor Series in 2017 and in 2018? Have you guys ever sat down and asked yourself that question? NXT was at its peak in 2017. NXT was on fire, even more so if you ask certain individuals, even more so. They were hotter than they were in 2017 and 2018, and they were spearheaded by Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Why are they a part of the Survivor Series? Is it because WWE now is keen and hip and up to date on what NXT is doing? You don't hear about NXT all the years that we watched NXT for 6 fucking years when they were on the WWE Network. You didn't hear one peep on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown about NXT. All of a sudden, now we're hearing more promotion than ever before about NXT on Monday Night Raw and USA. Or Monday Night Raw on USA and then SmackDown on Fox. Why is that? It's the AEW effect. It's the AEW effect because they know that they have competition now in AEW. Now, out of all those other years when you could have easily picked 2017 and 2018, now in 2019, they're a part of the Survivor Series. Folks, they are a part of the Survivor Series because WWE yes, it adds a little wrinkle of intrigue to the Survivor Series with NXT being involved, but the majority reason why they are added to the Survivor Series build is because they know that if they put NXT on Monday Night Raw and Friday on Smackdown on Fox, that people are going to open their eyes as to what NXT is. And in hopes that that happens, more eyes and more ears and more mouths will be watching and talking about NXT on Wednesday night, and they are hoping that that translates into ratings. Ratings that will beat AEW. Ratings that will beat AEW right now for NXT that have been on a losing streak as far as the ratings go. 7 weeks in a row, they've lost to AEW. This is why they want NXT a part of the Survivor Series this year. It's to bolster the eyes, the ears, and the mouths as far as NXT goes in hopes that they beat AEW at least once. And all they are looking for is that one time because they feel if they get that one win, that a string of momentum is going to be behind them and they're going to constantly steamroll AEW in the ratings, which I don't think is going to be the case. I don't think that's going to be the case whatsoever. NXT has always been the A brand. NXT has always been the number one show in all of WWE when comparing brands, Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. If you haven't been watching NXT, you are a blithering idiot. NXT is easily the best show in all of WWE when Raw and SmackDown superstars are not a part of it. It's always been. I don't know where you have been. I don't know why you would willingly go out there and watch Monday Night Raw to see Lana, Bobby Lashley, and Rusev, and then fucking SmackDown on Fox with Baron Corbin and his big dog emoji barking like a fucking chihuahua as he's dressed as the fucking Burger King. Why you would watch that fucking garbage over what you see on Wednesday night with NXT when NXT has NXT and not Raw and SmackDown? Why? Why do you go out there and willingly punish yourself when you have a fucking gold mine on Wednesday night in NXT? It's always been the A brand. Always. Nothing Raw and SmackDown have done in the last 4 to 5 years have even come close to what NXT has produced. And it's always been like that. It will always be like that. It will continue to be like that. But what are they fighting for? What are they fighting for? Last night's show is going to be a polarizing show. You either loved it or you hated it. But I got a sense of, let's build towards Survivor Series and put WarGames on the back burner. Let's leave this open door policy for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown to come on into Full Sail University because Survivor Series. Where was the WarGames build? Where was the WarGames build last night? Where is the build for Takeover WarGames, which has been a staple in this brand for the last 2 years? This pay-per-view, this show, this match has received very little love this year. And I have an issue with that. Because in the midst of all this chaos and all these run-ins and all these quote-unquote dream matches that typically WWE would leave for a special moment or leave for a bigger moment, they've just willingly gave them away on TV, booking themselves into a corner, and every match that we've seen has ended in a 3-minute spot fest, or it's ended in some fucking no contest because they've paired talents from NXT and talents with the main roster, guys who they need to look strong, women who need to look strong in NXT, men and women who need to look strong in the main roster. They booked them in a match together, and nobody could afford a loss. So what are you actually doing? What is the meaning of all of this? It means nothing to me. It means absolutely nothing. What should have been a great go-home show for TakeOver WarGames with TakeOver talent and NXT talent ended up being a Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live super show that ended up being a very mediocre effort. Where's the build for WarGames? Why are we getting Monday Night Raw and SmackDown on Fox on NXT building towards the Survivor Series when it's WWE Creative's job to build an intriguing addition of NXT to the Survivor Series, yet you muddied up NXT's 2-hour show to build towards the Survivor Series, yet you got 3 hours of a fucking shit show on Monday night and 2 hours of a fucking embarrassment on Fox, 5 hours of WWE television to build towards the Survivor Series, and you need those brands to come on Wednesday and get more time to build towards the Survivor Series? Or am I losing my mind? Why am I the only one that's bothered by this? Why am I the only one that's speaking up about this? You know, there are other people in the community that really don't see the things that I do. I looked at a Wrestle Talk thumbnail today on YouTube. On Twitter, I seen it. And then obviously it brought me to the YouTube page. The craziest NXT invasion angle ever. What was crazy about it? It was muddied in typical formulaic, boring, bland Vince McMahon rhetoric. That's what it was fucking just muddied in. Craziest NXT angle ever. Every match ended in a fucking no contest. Every match ended in a no contest. It took us 1 hour and 50 minutes to get to proper TakeOver WarGames build on last night's show in the form of Adam Cole and Dominik Dijakovic in a ladder match to see who gets the one-man advantage in the WarGames match. That's unacceptable to me. That's unacceptable to me. I don't know why you're not bothered by any of this. Yes, I get it. It's the Survivor Series. Yes, I get it. It's a 3-week, 4-week span. What are you yelling about? What are you complaining about? You don't see the acts of pure desperation on WWE's behalf to make NXT more relevant than AEW. They're not doing things in a natural way. They know they can't beat AEW with the talent that they have on these shows on a regular Wednesday away from the Survivor Series build. So yes, let's leave an open door policy where Seth Rollins can show up, and let's start the show with Becky Lynch. I don't want to see Becky Lynch start the fucking show on Wednesday night. She starts Monday every single week. That is more than enough of my fill of Becky Lynch during the week. I don't need to see Seth Rollins on Wednesday nights. I don't. I don't need to see the B Squad of Raw and Smackdown infiltrating Wednesday nights, taking time away from everybody else in that locker room that is foaming at the mouth at opportunity for 2 hours on Wednesday night. You have 5 hours of TV between Monday and Friday, and you need another 2 hours to build the Survivor Series. What does that say about WWE Creative? You didn't give me enough creativity in the fucking 4 weeks of TV? 20 fucking hours of TV. You couldn't get me excited about Survivor Series. The only reason why we are excited for Survivor Series is because you forcefully put NXT in the Survivor Series. And why did you do that? It's not that difficult to figure out. What should have been a great go-home show for WarGames ended up being a Wednesday night with WWE's B Squads on Monday and Friday night, infiltrating Wednesday when we should have got TakeOver WarGames build. Instead, we got Survivor Series build that WWE seemingly still hasn't gotten right, carrying over from Monday and Friday night. I don't get why people aren't complaining about this. I don't understand why people aren't really making a bigger issue over this. Why? What is so important for Sunday night? Why are you going to make me care about the Survivor? First of all, how are you going to make me care about the Survivor Series when it was just last year the Survivor Series had nothing on the line and everybody was bragging, oh, Monday Night Raw, clean sweep over SmackDown Live. Clean sweep over SmackDown Live in the Survivor Series, and I use that term, clean sweep, very loosely. The New Day won a pre-show match, which all but guaranteed them a victory over Monday Night Raw at least one time on Survivor Series night last year. Vince McMahon turns around and says, well, it's the pre-show. It doesn't count. Which goes against everything that they previously said about the pre-show right then and there. Oh, the pre-show is an extension. It's part of the show. If it's not counting towards the overall fucking scoreboard at the Survivor Series, then clearly it's not part of the fucking show. So you made me fucking have zero care after the New Day did not have their victory count last year. Shane McMahon shows up on TV in the weeks leading to Survivor Series saying, this is a big deal. We got to beat Monday Night Raw. We got to beat my sister, right? And then the following Tuesday on Smackdown, not one word was uttered about the Survivor Series. Not one fucking termination, not one release, not one firing, not one superstar sent packing to Monday Night Raw because they let SmackDown down, not one pep talk from Shane McMahon, not one fucking word from Shane McMahon's mouth about the Survivor Series. It was, let's go into Survivor Series on Sunday, we lose, we get swept, we get embarrassed, and the New Day wins, but let's go right back to Tuesday and forget that everything happened. So why are you going to make me care? How are you going to make me care about the Survivor Series when WWE has done everything in their power to pretty much show us that they themselves don't give a shit about the Survivor Series? I want TakeOver WarGames build. I don't want Survivor Series build. It is your job as creative writers to get me invested in the Survivor Series without the hokey and lame fucking chaotic brawls that we've seen littered throughout these shows on Monday, Friday, and 4 times on Wednesday night show last night. Enough! Enough. It's not creative. It's not cool. It's not exciting for the people watching at home. It might have been exciting for the 500 fucking people sitting at Full Sail, because how many times do they get to see Seth Rollins? How many times do they have to see Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus rolling into Full Sail? How many times do you get a Becky Lynch on NXT? Not often. For the live crowd, it was probably exciting. For me at home watching, this was a disappointment. It is your job as creative writers to get me invested in why NXT is in the Survivor Series. It is your job as creative writers to get me excited as to why I should be choosing a side. Am I NXT? Am I Raw? Or am I Smackdown? Give me reasons why. WWE overlooks the why in every situation all the time. Now I'm going to be pro NXT, but what's the point? I'm pro NXT because I know it's the better show compared to Raw and SmackDown, but what do they get when they eventually win? You're going to have NXT lose going into the Survivor Series knowing they're on Wednesday night in direct competition with a company that is absolutely not afraid to mention them. Give me a break. If NXT doesn't win the Survivor Series, this entire fucking build was a complete failure. It's your job as creative writers to creatively write. What you've done is gotten creatively lazy. Enough of these fucking big battle royales at the end of these shows where everybody gets their fucking signature spots in and we got fucking topes rolling everybody over like bowling pins. Enough! Enough. Should have been done subtly. You should have taken some major representatives from NXT and had them littered throughout Raw and SmackDown on Monday and Friday in a very subtle fashion. You don't have the entire fucking locker room, or you don't have to have the entire fucking locker room come out and wage war. What the fuck are you waging war over? Becky Lynch got it right. I don't give a shit about your brand supremacy. It's exactly what the fucking feeling I got is. Fuck brand supremacy. What is on the line? What is on the line? Following that SmackDown that ordered WWE to completely go in a different direction with NXT talent, and we got Adam Cole versus Daniel Bryan. Coming out of that, you should have really just battered down and bolstered down and really given us a subtle Survivor Series build. Have representatives from each brand show up. First of all, establish your fucking teams. Establish your teams. Have NXT make the first move. Because they are the hungry ones. They are the young ones in this situation. They're the ones out there to make a name for themselves. They know that they're the better brand. Show me. Have an Undisputed Era show up on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown Live. Have an Adam Cole. Have a Matt Riddle. Have a Keith Lee. Anybody. Have a Ciampa show up. Just one. And wage war. And say, listen, Survivor Series is coming up. You know? We're not the minor leagues anymore. We're not the 1-hour program on WWE Network that everybody used to just brush their shoulders at anymore. And just wage war. Set the battle lines right then and there. You don't need all this chaos. NXT's waging war on the main roster. That is Raw and SmackDown. You don't need Raw, SmackDown to stick up for themselves individually. They got a common enemy in this thing. It's NXT. It should have been NXT versus the main roster. It should have been NXT versus Raw and SmackDown. What we got right now is nothing more than a fucking clusterfuck of chaos that doesn't make any sense, with possible dream matches that have been happening across these shows that WWE is booking themselves creatively into a fucking corner that end in no contests because they can't afford anybody to fucking lose. Everything should have been done subtly. And NXT, WWE, Raw, SmackDown, they just went about all of this in the worst way possible. This should have been a great go-home show for WarGames. The brand versus brand concept, there is a way to make it feel special. There's a way to make it seem like a big deal. But it seems like nobody really gives a shit because WWE hasn't really put any effort to show us that they give a shit, or put any effort in to show us what exactly is on the line. Come Monday, come Wednesday, come Friday after the Survivor Series, none of this is going to matter. And the one thing that's going to be peering through the fucking clouds, that sunshine that's going to be breaking through the clouds at the end of all this Survivor Series build, is going to be NXT was only added to the Survivor Series because WWE wants to finally get the one-up on AEW. That's all there is. That's all there is. I don't know what else to say, folks. I don't know what else to say. I had my notes. I woke up this morning, and I felt this way after watching this show this morning. Not to say that it was a bad show, but WWE is trying way too hard with a brand that doesn't really need any effort at all because you've already showed us how great this brand could be. And you got a pay-per-view on Saturday night that I've been invested in more so than a lot of other things in the pro wrestling landscape in the last 2 years. And you only have 3 matches announced for this WarGame show. That's a piss-poor build. Because you've put this to the side and expect the WarGames match to sell itself. Because it's chaos and it's carnage and it's 8 men and women in a match going out there waging war on each other. You're expecting that match to sell itself based on the match that it is. And that's not right. You're shortchanging the fans at that point. You're actually neglecting NXT in light of the Survivor Series when your main priority should be WarGames. Because you know when NXT shows up in Chicago on Sunday night that they're absolutely going to bring it. And WWE NXT has not really shown me any care or build for the WarGames pay-per-view at all. It's all been about the Survivor Series. And I don't like that. Now, this leaves an open door for WarGames to have another match because you can't really have this show go on with only 3 matches. Obviously, you're going to have to add another match. They got Killian Dane, Pete Dunne, and Damian Priest in a triple threat match that was supposed to be on this show tonight. They moved it to TakeOver because they knew they had nothing else planned for the show. And the winner of that match is going to fight Adam Cole at the Survivor Series for the NXT Championship. We'll talk about that today. The other match that really should be added at TakeOver should be Angel Garza taking the Cruiserweight Championship away from Lio Rush. That should be a match on TakeOver WarGames. And if it's not, shame on you. Shame on you. We're going to go over everything that happened on this show, what I liked, what I didn't like, and the wrestling clinic that the Revival and the Undisputed Era gave us for 25 minutes. Where are the Revival on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown like we seen here tonight? Why does it take them to show up in Orlando, Florida for NXT to break out and show us how good they really are? Is the main roster really holding everybody back? By the looks of what we've seen tonight, they certainly are. Why do the War Raiders show up in NXT and within seconds feel so much more special than they've looked in 9 months on the main roster? Why? Why? Why did we have to wait an hour and 50 minutes to finally get TakeOver WarGames build in Adam Cole and Dominik Dijakovic in a ladder match? to end this show. Why? We're going to go over it all right here on the podcast. Quickly, guys, follow me on social media at JD from NY206. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Thank you guys so very much for all the support. If you missed any of the content that I uploaded on the channel previously, that is Monday Night Raw, that is Off The Script Elite, that is AEW Dynamite, and that is Off The Script, episode 300. If you guys missed that on last Friday and Saturday, make sure you guys go and check all that stuff out. I would greatly appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell for all notifications. YouTube has been fucking up lately. Don't know what's going on. Algorithms changed again. Policies are just running rampant on YouTube. Everything's just slowed down for everybody. So make sure you guys get the word about the podcast out there. Hit that subscribe button. I could really use your support during this obviously broken period of YouTube. So thank you guys so very much for that. And if you guys want to support the podcast on Patreon, you guys can certainly do so as well through Patreon. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. The podcast is brought to you by Audible. audibletrial.com/offthescript. Make sure you guys go out there and get yourself a free audio book and 30 days free of their service just for listening to the show today. That is audibletrial.com/offthescript. Over 200,000 choices to choose from, a lot of which are sports and wrestling related. The best part is once you sign up, A, you're not going to be billed, and B, you get a free audiobook, and then C, this is the best part. C is the best part of all this. Once you guys sign up, get your 30 days and get your audiobook for free. If you guys feel like Audible's not for you, you can cancel anytime in that 30 days and still get to keep your audiobook for free, no matter what. It's a great way to support Audible. It's a great way to support the show. audibletrial.com/offthescript. There are glimpses, or there are parts of what NXT has done in their portion of the Survivor Series build that I actually like. And it all stems from what happened on that Smackdown that WWE had to hastily put together with Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole in the main event, the best Smackdown of 2019. That was the show coming out of Saudi Arabia and Crown Jewel. Now, it was announced on Crown Jewel that NXT was going to be a part of the Survivor Series. Nobody knew what that meant. Nobody knew about their inclusion beforehand. All of a sudden, we see Triple H and Shawn Michaels on SmackDown saying that somebody clearly wanted to start a war with us in NXT. So he showed up on SmackDown Live. Daniel Bryan asked why he was on SmackDown Live. That right there was a great sequence. Daniel Bryan would have been a great spokesman for the main roster as they wage war with NXT. And I am going to put my foot down on this, and I'm going to stamp my approval to what I think should have happened here. It should have not been the way WWE is doing it now. I don't know how they're going to handle all those eliminations. I don't know how they are going to handle 15 different people on the ring apron for a Survivor Series match. It doesn't make any sense, and just based off appearance, it's not going to be aesthetically pleasing either. It's something that just boggles my mind how they went about even creatively coming to this conclusion. It always should have been Raw and SmackDown versus NXT. If NXT was going to be included, it should not have been NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown. It always should have been Raw and SmackDown versus NXT. Because NXT, before all this chaos that we've been seeing, they went to Raw and SmackDown. So they were picking fights with both Raw and SmackDown. And as a common enemy here for the main roster, they should have joined forces for one night only. This should be the only portion of the year where this happens, where they get the best of the best from Raw and SmackDown, and they put them against the best of NXT. 5-on-5. And the winner of said match gets something. Maybe it's something to do with the draft. Maybe it's something to do with the Royal Rumble. Come up with something. You're a bunch of creative writers. What the fuck do you have? Or why do you have 40 different creative writers if you can't come up with a solid idea as to what the winner gets from the Survivor Series? It's stupid. It's fucking stupid. glimpses of this were really fun. Glimpses of what I seen here last night to start the show were really fun. Triple H said, listen, I'm confident in my guys. We got an open door policy here. Anybody from Raw and SmackDown want to show up, then you guys show up. So Becky Lynch is the first thing that we see, and she walks on into Full Sail University ready to fight. I love this image. And William Regal was waiting right at the door, which even added more to the image. I loved the image of Becky Lynch walking into Full Sail, walking through Gorilla, walking through the curtain, and showing up in front of that live audience. Now, I've had enough of my fill of Becky Lynch to start Monday Night Raw. I didn't need to see it to start NXT. But that's what I mean, taking real brand representatives in this situation, Becky Lynch, and have them really speak up for Monday Night Raw. You don't need the entire fucking catering squad out there fighting your fucking battles for you. So Becky Lynch showed up, and she's in the middle of the ring. Chance of NXT, chance of Becky. It's been a while, she said. She said she won't have to wait much longer to see her kick someone's ass here again. And she ripped off her jacket, ready for a fight. She said Triple H extended an invitation, but she was coming anyway. She dressed down Bayley and says that she's got an old woman haircut and this new attitude. And she's being held back by Sasha Banks. She went after Shayna as well and was greeted with a "Shayna's gonna kill you" chant. She then said she'd show Shayna just who the hell she is. I'm on your show now, in your ring, under your light. What in the hell are you going to do about it? It's not building towards WarGames, it's building towards Survivor Series. So it's all Survivor Series in this opening segment. Rhea Ripley came out. Chance of Rhea. Rhea's gonna kill you. Chance also towards Becky. So she gets in the ring. She's eating it up because she's in the opening segment with Becky Lynch, so that's got to be a good moment for Rhea Ripley. So you're the man. Let's see if you have a set of balls. We get a referee out there. Rhea tosses the microphone down, and we got an opening match. Now, in many circles in the social media landscape that is social media, Twitter, WWE, AEW, wrestling, Twitter, whatever, people look at this match and think this is a very intriguing match. People look at this match and see the present and the future in Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch. This was not really all that special. This really didn't do anything for me at all. It barely went 10 minutes, and it was ended by Shayna Baszler, Marina Shafir, and Jessamine Duke coming in, hitting the ring, and attacking both women for what else is new? A double disqualification. So they attack both Becky and Rhea Ripley because Shayna's obviously got Becky at the Survivor Series, and Rhea Ripley is a part of the WarGames, so let's go after them as well, which Shayna Baszler is also a part of. So this ended in a double DQ. Can't have Rhea Ripley lose a couple of days out before WarGames because she's the team captain for her team going in to WarGames against Shayna Baszler. You can't have Becky Lynch lose because she is the Raw Women's Champion and has a major match in her own at Survivor Series against said Shayna Baszler and Bayley, who is the SmackDown Women's Champion. So Shayna Baszler, Marina Shafir, and Jessamine Duke hit the ring. They attacked both women for a double DQ. Becky and Rhea were able to fight back and then obviously clear the ring of all the horsewomen, and they stood there, I guess, with common enemies. They are enemies in their own right, you know, and then they're looking at the horsewomen, and then they're looking at enemies to them. So it's like they hate each other, they want to fight each other, but they also realize that they have enemies in the horsewomen. So that's that. I didn't really get a sense of anything from this about WarGames. You know, maybe a little, but not overwhelming to a point where, you know, I got Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler going at it for WarGames. It was all about Becky. It was all about Becky and Shayna Baszler. It wasn't a memorable match by any stretch of the imagination. It just did exactly what it needed to do for the Survivor Series. And neither woman could afford to lose the match, like I said twice already in this podcast. They're booking people in situations where they can't have either woman or either man afford to lose the match. The run-in did nothing but serve for the Survivor Series. It was predictable, and it's something that we've seen stretched across Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. That's all it did. That's all it did. So at this first point in the show, I'm asking, where is the build for WarGames? That's all it did. It was build towards Survivor Series. Matt Riddle versus Kona Reeves, the lamest Kona Reeves. Wasn't sure if he was still employed or not. So this was supposed to be a match between these two. Why? I don't know. But Ricochet blindsided Kona Reeves. Don't know where he came from. Don't know if he came running from the back. Don't know if he came running from the side entrance and ran through the crowd. But he jumped Kona Reeves and took him out of the match. So he's in the ring. Ricochet looked better in this one moment than he's done in 3 months on the main roster. He actually was in a ring, in a building where people legitimately give a shit about him. He looked great, and he looked so happy to be back in NXT, as that's the common theme with everybody on this show. So Matt Riddle was supposed to fight Kona Reeves. He comes out anyway, theme music and all. So we get this match, Matt Riddle versus Ricochet. This is a future WrestleMania match. This is a takeover-worthy match. They fit 15 minutes into 3. That's what they did here. This was Ricochet representing Raw, going up against Matt Riddle in NXT. So we had reversals at the start. Head scissor takedown by Ricochet. You guys seen that time and time again on Monday Night Raw. Ricochet hit a huge tope, almost a cannonball-like tope, through the ropes on Matt Riddle, who was on the outside after the head scissor takedown. Ricochet went for a shooting star press, but jumped into a submission, which he eventually escaped. Matt Riddle delivered the Broton. Riddle hit a couple of flying forearms, an exploder on Ricochet, went for a cover, only got a 2 count. Ricochet rolled through a powerbomb attempt by Matt Riddle, hit a Northern Light suplex, spinning neck breaker, and a standing shooting star press for a cover and a 2 count. He went up, went for the Phoenix Splash. He missed. Final flash knee by Matt Riddle. But Ricochet hit a step-up enziguri. German suplex by Riddle. So we had some big impact spots. We had some high offensive spots here by both guys. Like I said, they tried to fit 15 minutes into 3 here in this match. Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura hit the ring in their Smackdown colors. I am already dreading watching the Survivor Series on Sunday night to see Raw wearing red Raw shirts, SmackDown wearing blue SmackDown shirts, and fucking NXT wearing black and gold NXT shirts. As if we don't know who's a part of which brand. Maybe you don't. I wouldn't be surprised if you don't. With the fucking rosters the way that they are. So Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura hit the ring in their SmackDown colors. They got SmackDown on the front and Fox on the back. Chaos. In the middle of all this, Riddle rolled up Ricochet for the victory here in just under 4 minutes. So Ricochet makes his return to NXT and still can't win a match here in Full Sail University. What did this do? I don't know. Again, this built towards the Survivor Series. At the end of this thing, Nakamura had Riddle prone for a Kinshasa, and out of nowhere comes Roderick Strong, and he blasts Shinsuke Nakamura and cleared him out. Balor then made his way down to the ring, and he's got a match with Matt Riddle at WarGames. They went toe-to-toe. He attacked Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle fought him off, and in the middle of all this, he knocked Balor out of the ring, I believe, with a missile dropkick. So that was that. Or a missile dropkick or a final flash knee. I don't remember exactly what he hit him with. But Finn Balor finally took some offense here in this comeback of his in NXT. So that was a little bit of a WarGames build, but Matt Riddle is only in this match with Finn Balor because Johnny Gargano, the one who was supposed to fight Finn Balor at WarGames, cannot make WarGames. So they pulled Matt Riddle from the WarGames match, and now his spot is left open for anybody. I don't know who that's going to be, and they plugged him into the Finn Balor match because they needed a match. That's another match that's taking place at WarGames that I forgot. Matt Riddle versus Finn Balor. But there is room to add another 5th match to this show. And I hope that they add Angel Garza and Leo Rush for the Cruiserweight Championship. But this did more to build towards the Survivor Series than anything. We got that little glimpse, that little back and forth between Matt Riddle and Finn Balor, and that was all. Roderick Strong came out. He blasted Nakamura in the middle of all this thing because he is going to be in a triple threat match with Nakamura and AJ Styles at the Survivor Series. The crowd seemed to be into this. Crowd seemed to be into the unpredictability of who's going to show up next through the curtain. But it feels so much like Raw and SmackDown at this point, like I mentioned in the beginning. It feels so much like a Raw and SmackDown Super Show on NXT through the first 30 minutes. So it's like Survivor Series, Survivor Series, Survivor Series, and then, oh yeah, we got TakeOver. We got TakeOver later on Saturday night. So we go from that to the Undisputed Era. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly versus The Revival, Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder. This match came to be because the Undisputed Era ruined the Revival's chances of winning the SmackDown Tag Team titles on Friday on SmackDown against The New Day. These guys went the distance. They went the distance, and they went 25 minutes on this show, and this was fucking fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. It's amazing to me how the WWE has just taken the Revival and stripped them down to basically nothing, and they show up in NXT and they have the best match of their entire career. Now, I wouldn't say their career, but of their year in 2019. They have not had a match since their feud with DIY that has been better. And even back to that, I don't remember who they were in the ring with after that I could really say is a career highlight for them. They haven't had anything happen on the main roster, period. And if you think that they have, you're a fool. They show up in NXT for 25 minutes and they have their best match in 2019. This is a tag team that wants to wrestle. They're in the ring with two guys who are probably one of the best tag teams on the planet in Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, and they put on a clinic. They put on a clinic to the surprise of nobody. So we start slow. It's two teams that I would say the Revival showed up as baby faces, I think. If you even want to go that route. Undisputed Era, they always get a mixed reaction, but they are the heels in this situation. The Revival are heels, but they are the returning tag team to NXT. They return home. So for just a little bit, they were playing that babyface role in this tag team match with the Undisputed Era. So we get O'Reilly and Wilder. They did a nasty suplex spot over the top rope, and they both hit the floor. We go to commercial break. That was the big spot before the commercial break. When we got back from commercial, Undisputed Era were working over Wilder, and they kept him grounded. Wilder was finally able to get some separation. He crawled over to the wrong corner. O'Reilly was also able to dropkick Dawson off the apron to block a tag, which is something the Revival do, which I love that the Undisputed Era, who tends to do that as well, they use that against the Revival. So I love that spot. So he was able to dropkick Dawson off the apron, block the tag. O'Reilly and Fish then gave Wilder an axe and smash for a near fall. Undisputed Era are still working over Wilder. We go to another commercial break. Wilder, after we get back from the second commercial break, this match went through 2 commercial breaks, was finally able to make the hot tag, and I hate these commercials. I really fucking do. You know, in the middle of this, it just kills even though it's split screen, it takes you out of the fucking environment of the match. But who am I to fucking complain? They gotta make their money. So Dawson finally gets the hot tag. He begins to clean house. Fish tried to trip him up. Dawson did a flying, diving headbutt for a 2 count. Fish with an O'Connor roll. He countered with a 2 count of his own. Wilder assisted with an uppercut so Dawson could give Fish a brainbuster for 2.5, and the brainbuster that he delivered was a thing of beauty. O'Reilly then saved Fish from an attempted superplex by Dawson, but O'Reilly then took a DDT on the apron from Wilder. Dawson superplexed Fish, and if you guys remember the old school tag team Power and Glory, they did a variation of the Power and Glory finisher, superplex off the top rope, and then Dash Wilder comically flies through the air. I don't know who was it? It was, I think it was, might have been O'Reilly. Might have been O'Reilly who was on the ground. And he was superplexed by Dawson. And then Wilder comically flies through the air. He's flailing his arms because O'Reilly was too far away. and he hit the big splash. So you got the superplex and the big splash combination, power and glory, and I think Nigel McGuinness made mention of it. There's the power, and there's the glory on commentary, so that was pretty cool. It was Fish. I'm sorry, it's Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish somehow kicked out of that double team move. Dawson went for a high-risk move. Fish cut him off with a kick. Undisputed Era then went to team up on Dawson, but Wilder made the save. Fish ended up taking the Shatter Machine. Now, in this thing, before the Shatter Machine, it was a situation where Dawson got a big boot on Bobby Fish, right square in the face coming out of the corner. You seen something was wrong. You seen blood. I didn't really see blood drip. It might have just been a fucking cut on the edge of his nose, but you seen a huge red gash on Bobby Fish's nose. Referee put his gloves on. I'm glad he didn't get in there and stop it. I hate when they do that. You know, more times than not, if you ask the pro wrestler if they're okay, that's the extent of it. Don't stop the match to wipe any blood. I think the wrestlers would like the blood to be dripping down on the mat or dripping down their face. It adds a nice little aesthetic to the match and how gruesome and brutal these two teams are going at it. So, Fish, eventually, after the busted open spot, he took a Shatter Machine, and I love the fact, I don't know if you guys were watching, but they flipped Fish around so that his feet cannot get to the ropes. But O'Reilly was on the outside anyway, and he pulled Bobby Fish out of the pinning combination, which was great. It was just a great spot. So, we got the Shatter Machine. O'Reilly broke up the pin by dragging Bobby Fish and Dawson out of the ring. Wilder was posted. Wilder was posted and hit a flying knee. He was hit with a flying knee strike off the apron by O'Reilly, and that really knocked him out of the match completely. He did not really get up from that situation for the rest of this match. Dawson then was in the ring with a cradle on Fish. He was fighting a 2-on-1 situation here. Fish then got him with some kicks. Dawson then screamed at the Undisputed Era, "Kiss my ass," and they hit him with the high-low, and that was it. That was it. 25 minutes of classic tag team wrestling. This was fucking awesome. And at the end of this thing, it makes me think why the Revival were not in the tag team match at Survivor Series. It really made me think. Look at what these two teams are capable of, and you take this team out of the Survivor Series equation to put in the New Day. Now, this was probably a consolation prize for the Revival. Yeah, you're not going to be in the Survivor Series, but we'll book you in a match. Triple H probably said, you know what, we'll book you in a match with the Undisputed Era on Wednesday, and you guys can get your shit in for 25 minutes. You guys got the fucking, the time limit you want. Yeah, go out there and do what you got to do. But the WWE was never going to leave the New Day off of the Survivor Series card. That's just the way it is. That's the reality of the situation. But the Revival got their match with the Undisputed Era, and I wonder what those two guys are thinking. Man, we miss being in NXT. I would love to be back down here on a full-time basis. I knew these guys were going to fucking kick ass. This is a takeover-worthy match that you guys need to go out there and watch. This was fucking fantastic with the Undisputed Era, obviously the right choice in the winners here in this match. We've seen a music video with Poppy that previewed the Women's WarGames match. That was awesome. I really like that. So that added a nice little element. We got Dakota Kai versus Kaylee Ray. I'm not a big fan of Kaylee Ray whatsoever, but she's on Shayna Baszler's team. She defeats Dakota Kai in about 5 minutes with a gory bomb. That's pretty much all that is. Obviously, she's the NXT UK Women's Champion, and she's on Team Baszler, so she cannot lose whatsoever. Dakota Kai is in there as a consolation prize. You're not on the WarGames pay-per-view or part of the WarGames team. We still may see her get involved at some point. I don't know. Maybe she takes her frustrations out on Rhea Ripley. I don't know. Everybody has predicted a heel turn for her. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But Dakota Kai loses yet again in this situation, and she is the victim here for Kaylee Ray. So at the end of this thing, we had women from both Raw and SmackDown hit the ring. This was nothing more than a clusterfuck. I didn't really give a shit about any of this. It built towards Raw and SmackDown and the Survivor Series more than WarGames. After the bell, women from SmackDown and Raw ran out. You got Carmella, you got Dana Brooke, you got Kairi Sane. Asuka was not there. So they're mixing it up with some of the women from the NXT roster who ran out. You got Bianca Belair, you got Candice LeRae, etc., etc. There were too many people to keep track of at this point. I didn't even write people's names down in my notes. We got Nikki Cross. She ran down swinging a trash can lid. Kairi Sane delivered a flying elbow on, I believe it was Tegan Nox. Then she briefly faced off with Io Shirai. They had a nice little stare down. Best friend versus best friend. And a great tease right there for what those two are possibly capable of in the near future. If Kairi Sane and the contract rumors are true, she might be leaving. I don't know. Nikki Cross said, ran down with a trash can, swinging the trash can lid. She cleared the ring, and she was the one who stood tall for Smackdown in the end with her trash can lid and all. Again, did we get WarGames build, or did we get Survivor Series build? It was more Survivor Series than anything else, mixed with members of the WarGames team that were just there battling on behalf of NXT. There was no focus on WarGames whatsoever. Did not like it. It was nothing more than a clusterfuck. It was unmemorable, and we've seen this time and time and time again after Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live have given us the same situation over and over again. You know, it was what it was for Dakota Kai and Kaylee Ray. It was a situation where we're all still wondering what Dakota Kai and her role is going to be in WarGames. Is she going to be in WarGames? There are a lot of people who think she should be in WarGames. Is she going to turn heel at WarGames? We don't know. But the brawl largely built towards the Survivor Series, and this should have been time better spent on building towards WarGames. That's all I have to say about that. Like I said, we got 20 hours of build in the weeks leading up to tonight between Raw and SmackDown to build for Survivor Series. Now you need an extra fucking segment on a 2-hour show that should be building towards WarGames? Give me a break. Viking Raiders versus the Forgotten Sons. This was a non-title match, obviously. This one went 12 minutes. The Viking Raiders won. This was a match in which it was physical, it was hard-hitting, and it really made me appreciate the War Raiders just a little bit more than I have on the main roster. And they came down, they made their ring entrance, and you can tell by when the crowd looks at their name on the big screen, the Viking Raiders name shows up. The crowd is very indifferent to the Viking Raiders. There was moans and groans. If it said the War Raiders, I think it would have been a bigger pop. But the Viking Raiders and the name change isn't going to sit well with these people at Full Sail University. It still doesn't sit well with fucking people watching them on Monday Night Raw. It still doesn't sit well with me. 500 people or so in Full Sail University is a very respectable sample size as to what people think of the fucking name change. The indifference was heard and it was felt when they came out. Now, the crowd was chanting war, which the main roster fucking parasites in the crowd don't really know anything about when the War Raiders come out. So they were chanting war, and they were doing their war chant. And both Hanson and Rowe, they were so fucking... You seen the jubilation on their face. You seen the fucking excitement on their face. They couldn't fucking wait to get into that ring and do the fucking war chants. They loved every minute of that shit. They ate it up, because they know that shit's not going to be on Monday when they have to show back up to work on Raw. Hopefully in Chicago, the fans bring out the war chants, and we see them do the war chants. Because Chicago, they know. So we'll see. So we got the Viking Raiders and the Forgotten Sons. We got the Viking Raiders taking control early. Cutler took control, leaned in on Eric. Eric fought out of trouble early on. He rolled to his corner to make the tag. Ivar took both guys out. Jackson Riker yanked both of his guys to the outside. Both Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler on the outside. We go to commercial break. We're back from commercial Back from commercial Blake. Yes. Back from commercial break. And Wesley Blake and Ivar are making hot tags. So they're making hot tags to their partner. Ivar destroyed both guys with splashes and then a Bronco Buster in the corner. Some quick tags, some really great offense here by the Viking Raiders. Riker set up Blake's leg on the bottom rope to break up a count and then was baited by Eric to the outside so he and Cutler could do a double team on the outside. We got a blind tag by the Sons, and Cutler hits a back stabber in the corner, which looked very sloppy, I don't know what was going on there. There was a little miscue in that entire situation. It looked like Cutler was in the corner trying to get his knees up, but he didn't get his knees up all the way. So we got another tag to Blake. They hit a tandem move in the corner. Ivar rolled out to make a tag to Eric, who cleared out the Forgotten Sons in this situation. And then he ran into a double axe handle by Riker as he went for a tope. So you guys know the big man loves to fly, and he was met with a double axe handle by Mr. Riker on the outside. Cutler hits a Death Valley driver that was supposed to hit the apron, but obviously missed the apron. From what I could tell, it looked even more brutal than what it was supposed to be. So that was a miscue there. So the Death Valley driver was supposed to hit, and we had Eric go to the outside. So we got a knee strike by Eric to Cutler in the ring. After all this, all four guys got involved, and they were going at it in the ring. And then Eric hits both Sons with a handspring double back elbow. Ivar tagged in, and the Raiders hit the Thor's Hammer for the win. That was pretty much it. Viking Raiders win. This was a mess, I would say, but it's nice to see the Viking Raiders getting some victories over teams that are not fucking guys pulled from the line at Petco. So nice to see that. So we got Kathy Kelly promoting Pete Dunne, Damian Priest, and Killian Dane in a match at TakeOver for a shot at Adam Cole at the Survivor Series. Hopefully Pete Dunne wins that, because Pete Dunne and Adam Cole at Survivor Series is the match that you want in Chicago. That's just my opinion on that. So after an hour and 50 minutes, we got finally some TakeOver build. We got Dominik Dijakovic and Adam Cole ladder match to determine who gets the one-man advantage in the War Games. And this was a very short and sweet ladder match. It did what it had to do, and this was awesome. This was awesome. So we got Adam Cole winning here. So obviously the heels get the one-man advantage in War Games. They traded strikes in the ring before going for the ladder. Dominik Dijakovic tried to throw the ladder in the ring first, but he was met with a basement dropkick by Adam Cole. And that was the first offense with the ladder. So at the end of all this, the first sequence of the match, Dominik Dijakovic threw a lariat that went to Adam Cole. He went to go grab the ladder instead of grabbing the ladder that was already propped up on the stage. Like I said, he was met with a basement dropkick to the face by Adam Cole. Dominik Dijakovic then back in the ring, started smacking Cole with the ladder. Cole bumped several times on the ladder before Dominik Dijakovic went to climb up. Cole cut him down with a super kick. Cole targeted his leg, the obvious leg that he had the meniscus tear on. So Cole targeted the leg and wrapped Dominik Dijakovic's leg around the steel post to take him momentarily out of the match. Cole worked over Dominik Dijakovic's leg. We went to commercial break. And then right back from commercial break, he hit Dijakovic with the ladder, and then Cole propped the ladder up in the corner. So Dominik Dijakovic reversed a suplex, and Cole sold it big time on the ladder. Dominik Dijakovic went to climb the ladder, and he was selling the leg. Nice to see. Cole pulled another ladder from underneath the ring. So now they're having a tug-of-war with the ladder. And Dominik Dijakovic chokeslammed Cole off the ladder on top of another ladder that was propped in the corner by Adam Cole, and he sold the shit out of it. Adam Cole sold the shit out of this chokeslam. It looked like his lips were blue. He was selling it so good. Dominik Dijakovic then went for Feast Your Eyes, but Cole escaped and jumped on the ladder. He then executed out of this situation a Panama Sunrise on a man that is 6'7" and 270 pounds. A Panama Sunrise off the ladder to Dominik Dijakovic. Crowd went crazy. Cole went to climb the ladder, but Dijakovic cut him off. Dijakovic had 1 foot on the ladder, climbing up the ladder, hopping up the ladder, which was great to see. Like I mentioned before, he was selling the effects of the knee and Adam Cole attacking his knee. Cole shot up the ladder on the other side to meet him, but there was a ladder in the middle of the ring, and then there was a ladder horizontal. Dominik Dijakovic, I guess in a situation where he did not want Adam Cole to pull him down on the opposite end of the ladder, tried to climb the ladder with one leg with this other ladder propped in between one of the rungs of the ladder. So he climbed up on the more difficult portion of the ladder to try and grab the briefcase. So obviously Cole was going to climb up the ladder and try and stop him. So both are standing on top of the ladder, and both grabbed the briefcase hanging above. They fought over it. Cole swung the briefcase into Dominik Dijakovic. Obviously, he fell backwards on top of the ladder that was propped in the corner and in the rung of the ladder. He fell right through the ladder. And Adam Cole unhooked the briefcase. He wins the match, and he gives Undisputed Era the opportunity to get the one-man advantage at TakeOver. The rest of Undisputed Era came down. They were standing on the ramp, and they were surrounded by two gangs of B-Team guys from Raw and Smackdown. They ganged up on the Undisputed Era collectively, and then Raw and Smackdown wrestlers started brawling amongst each other. At the end of this show, we had more NXT wrestlers come out. I don't even know who was there. Keith Lee was there. I don't even know anybody else who was there outside of Keith Lee in this fucking chaos. We had more NXT guys come out. Drew McIntyre showed up in the ring. He Claymore kicked Dominik Dijakovic. He almost took his fucking head off. Keith Lee then got in the ring to step up to his partner at WarGames and met face-to-face with Drew McIntyre. This was the best part, one of the best parts of the entire show, was this stare down between Drew McIntyre and Keith Lee. Fuck the brawl that's happening on the outside. This is what I came for. Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre staring at each other. Keith Lee caught McIntyre with a spirit bomb that fucking planted McIntyre so hard on the mat that he popped up in mid-spirit bomb. Fucking awesome. So Lee then faced off with fucking Ivar of the War Raiders. They both had the same idea. Instead of going at each other, they said, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just dive over everybody else on the outside. Ivar went through the ropes. Keith Lee did a fucking tope over the ropes. Unbelievable shit, taking out everybody else. They both had the same idea, and they piled on top of everybody and took everybody out. Adam Cole's in the ring. He's obviously smiling. We got Adam Cole smiling because he's the one who pretty much evaded all of this carnage. So he's the sole survivor here. And then Seth Rollins comes out of nowhere and super kicks Adam Cole. Rollins was going for the stomp, and fans in Full Sail were chanting, burn it down. I don't know why. You don't want Rollins to burn down Full Sail University, believe me. So Rollins was measuring Adam Cole for the stomp, and then out comes Tommaso Ciampa. His music hits. Cole rolled out of the ring, and he rolled to the outside amongst the other bodies. Tommaso Ciampa walked down the aisle, and he punt kicked Adam Cole right in the face before he got in the ring. With a stare down with Tommaso Ciampa and Seth Rollins in the middle of the ring. He took his shirt off. He got in the ring with Seth Rollins, and they started trading shots. They started going blow for blow in the middle of the ring, and the crowd started chanting, Seth Rollins is not cool, Seth is not cool, which people made to be a big deal on social media, but it was a very weak chant. It wasn't something that 15,000 people should be chanting in Chicago on Sunday. But Ciampa and Rollins were squaring off. They threw blows, blow for blow, as NXT went off the air, with Rollins and Ciampa trading strikes. That's pretty much it, guys. I don't know what else to say on top of what I said in the beginning 30 minutes of this show. It was all Survivor Series. It was 95% Survivor Series and maybe 5% of TakeOver WarGames. I can't wait for everything to go back to normal next week, because I honestly think after that one Smackdown show that had Daniel Bryan and Adam Cole and Tommaso Ciampa show up and Keith Lee and Matt Riddle on that show, WWE had their backs against the wall. They booked an out-of-the-box show that everybody loved. They failed to capitalize on it, and they just went right back to doing typical Vince McMahon Survivor Series build with everybody fighting everybody else on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT with basically nothing on the line. What are they fighting for? I can't really get behind this build. I'm not saying that it was a bad show. It was a disappointing show, to say the least. It was a good show, but a disappointing show in the terms of NXT quality and in the terms of what I expect for a takeover, for a NXT takeover build. That's what I expect. I expect quality. I did not get this on this particular build for WarGames. Can't wait for everything to go back to normal, because I want my NXT the way I want my NXT. And that does not include Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live B players from Titus Catering. Could not give a shit. Survivor Series should be fun. Survivor Series should be very newsworthy. Survivor Series should be very exciting. But I can't really say that I am any more excited coming out of these shows than I was after that SmackDown show. I was excited for that SmackDown show, and if anything, WWE has actually lessened my excitement for the Survivor Series. That's all I got to say about that, guys. I'm getting out of here. If you enjoyed the podcast, let me know down below. If you enjoyed anything that was said here, leave a thumbs up on the video. I would greatly appreciate it. Please do not use the AEW, JD's an AEW shill excuse. Please, please. I don't want to hear it. You guys know that what I speak is factual information. Where is the build for TakeOver? Why do we got a Raw and SmackDown Super Show on NXT that is building towards Survivor Series when you got fucking 5 hours of weekly television on Raw and SmackDown that should be dedicated for Survivor Series, and you got this 2-hour show here on Wednesday night, one night a week, that needs to be doing their own thing for WarGames, and we didn't see any of that. That's the point I'm trying to make. So please leave the AEW shill or JD's sucking dick from AEW or he's on Tony Khan's payroll. Leave it in the fucking vault. I don't even want to hear it. It's fucking nonsensical and it makes you look like a fucking blithering fool. So stop. You guys know I'm correct, and I expect some fucking decent conversation down below in the comment section. Getting out of here, guys. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206, and check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. You got Off The Script, you got Raw, you got Off The Script Elite, you got AEW Dynamite. Lots of stuff to catch up on if you have not checked any of it out. Guys, I will see you right back here on Friday for Off The Script. We're going to go over Survivor Series predictions, and we're going to go over the news and rumors, and we got a lot to say about CM Punk on his debut night for WWE Backstage. Until then, see you guys right back here on Friday for episode 301 of Off The Script. See you guys then.